Good afternoon. How do you modernise, how do you digitise 400 years of history? 400 years of unstructured data. That is the challenge that ROS, or currently Register of Scotland, ROS for short, are currently facing right now. We're on a mission to modernise some of the oldest national public land registers in the world. In fact, the oldest public land register in the world. Registers of Scotland, we are the builders and the custodians of 21, soon to be 23, public land registers on behalf of the citizens of Scotland. The oldest register that we host, the General Register of Citizens, dates back to 1617, a long, long time ago. We provide essential services to the citizens of Scotland, and the integrity of our register supports the economy by providing the public a system of rights and legal guarantees in relation to land and property. The data that we host within our registers supports the public and policymakers in making very important decisions. So, for example, we're currently supporting the Scottish Government and public bodies and policymakers in identifying areas of land mass that are suitable for wind farms in pursuit of the nation's net zero target. And we're also providing information on who owns those lands or who has a controlling interest in those lands. Now, our vision as an organisation is to be a digital registration business that's trusted for its integrity, but to do that with customers at the heart of everything that we do. And AI and technology is playing a fundamental part in how we deliver that. I just want to touch on some of the success stories, just 3 of the success stories that we've deployed in recent times. A few years ago, we released our flagship product, our award-winning service, Scotland's Land and Information Service, that I'm sure many of you in the room may be familiar with. This product offers great value to both the citizens of Scotland and our professional customers in providing for the very first time digital, publicly faced access, public internet-facing access to self-service searching of land and information data within the registers that we hold. And how did we do this? We leveraged a few years ago the very rudimentary release capabilities of artificial intelligence, and that rudimentary capability that allowed us to automate processes and tasks. But moving on in terms of our digitisation capabilities, in more recent times, and I think it was June last year, we released self-service copy deeds. Now, self-service copy deeds enables primarily our legal professionals to access land and property deeds, which are effectively a history of land and property transactions, which is a very important part of being able to submit a land and property application for the Books of Council and for the Register of Deeds. Now, on the face of it, you might say that that's quite a simple sounding service, and on the face of it is. But behind that service is 60 million deed images. That's 60 million PDFs of which were once either a handwritten deed that was scanned into a big machine, or a typewritten deed that was scanned into a big machine and captured in an image format. So how do you turn 60 million of those into something that's structured and searchable? Artificial intelligence was the answer. We used optical character recognition, machine learning to scan through those 60 million deeds, pull out the pertinent information, and we then used another type of machine learning called data annotation and categorization to apply the relevant structured data that we could then present to our customers so that they could simply search it and purchase it. More recently, in the inception of the COVID crisis, we released the Digital Submission Service, built on a similar technology stack to that of Scotland's. And this was a service that has really kind of triggered the innovation within what we're doing at the Register of Scotland. And as we know, COVID was a very difficult period, but it was also a change accelerator. Prior to the COVID period, we were legislatively bound to accept land and property transaction applications via paper with a wet signature. We had a push on the other side of the city, in the bottom floor of Meadowbank House. We would scan all of these documents into a big industrial scanner and process them through the settle machine. But when COVID hit, we had to evacuate our buildings for the safety of our employees. And the property market, right up the supply chain, was brought to its knees. And we had to play a big part in trying to recover our part in that supply chain. Now, after close consultation with the Scottish Government, we managed to get rapid legislation in place that allowed us to build this service. But we didn't have anything in place. We had always had aspirations of delivering this service, but we hadn't even begun to build it. But because of the technology that was available to us, the artificial intelligence capabilities that underpinned the two products that I've talked through previously, we were able to provision this and have this in place and available for our customers within a matter of 5 weeks. So that's some good success stories, but we still have big challenges at Registers of Scotland. And I want to touch on what those challenges are and how we're using technology and artificial intelligence to try and solve those challenges. And before I do that, and I appreciate, I may be teaching some of you to suck eggs here in terms of giving you a 101 on registration, but the way I would describe Registers of Scotland, it's almost like a manufacturing plant. We have 3 big product lines. And when you submit a land or property application, it typically has one of 3 flavours. Dealings in whole, which are dispositions, so it's effectively me just doing a bog standard land or property sale from person A to person B. So it's a proprietor name change, typically a discharge of a mortgage and the reapplication of a mortgage. The most bog standard thing that we do as a business and the highest volume aspect of our land and property transactions. We also have first registrations, which is where there has been no transaction on a piece of land or a property in a long, long time. It still exists in that 400-year-old Register of Seasons. So we have to do a lot of upfront capture of data and spatial mapping to make sure that it gets registered accurately onto the land register. And then we have transfer of parts, which is arguably our most complex area of work, where we're looking to take a piece of land and to carve it up into multiple pieces and ultimately develop the product which all of these lines produce, which is an updated title sheet and plan. So with that context in mind, what is the challenge that we are facing at Registers of Scotland? Well, historically, we've always been subject to the fluctuations in the property market in terms of meeting our performances, meeting our KPIs. When the market is buoyant, especially in these complex areas of first registration and transfer of parts, we take on the application and we give legal certainty and legal guarantees that the transaction can proceed with legal certainty. But we know that for as long as that application remains in our open casework route, doesn't get to the point where we're providing our customer that product of an updated title sheet and plan, we know that further down the line that can provide difficulties in terms of remortgaging and other aspects. And we know that as a thorn in our customer's side and it's a thorn in our side. And that's what we are seeking to resolve. And we've made some positive inroads in this space in recent times. I mentioned earlier that dealings in whole is our highest volume, but it's also our most simplistic product stream. Up until now, we've used rudimentary artificial-based technology to simplify the processes and tasks that our registration staff, typically junior caseworkers, can use to process the casework in here. And what that's allowed us to do is not only turn green the performance aspect in this space in a sustainable way, but it's allowed us to take small numbers of colleagues and retrain them through a talent pipeline and have them targeting the open casework, the more complex casework in these product lines down here. But that's not enough. Whilst we have managed to, the analogy I would use is turn the tap off and empty the tub of bath water. We've turned the tap off, so we're meeting the demand, but we still have this substantial open casework backlog of land and property transactions in this space. Now, we need to try and get more and more colleagues, swathes of people from here trained up into these areas. And again, we're going to use artificial intelligence to do that. And I want to talk, and it gets a little bit into the tech here. I want to talk a little bit how we're going to do that. So when a land and property transaction is submitted to Registers of Scotland, typically it comes with an application form and a deed PDF. We're using machine learning optical character recognition to scan that deed and check that the deed correlates to the application form and check that the deed correlates to the deed that we in the register that we have on the land register. We then use other machine learning based capability, sort of artificial based capability, to do a complexity analysis to ask the question, is this application simple enough for a machine to be able to then proceed with a prediction on how this land and property transaction should be settled? Or is it complex to the point where it needs human intervention? And that complexity analysis then results in a position where either a human either just needs to do a sense check on, is this valid? Is there any gaps that's been missed here? Can I just do a single click button push and let the transaction complete? Or does it require a more in-depth review from a case settler from the point of the application being submitted? Now, this is going to take a staged approach going forward in ROS. And I think one of the most important things I want to call out is that the machine learning capability, the artificial capability that we're using here is optical character recognition, which is self-learning, commoditized machine learning. But the element of our artificial intelligence that we're using to make title predictions, or to make predictions in terms of settling cases, is rule-based. And what that ultimately means is that we have the mastery of how it makes those decisions. The algorithms that it's using, we are defining the rules. We're defining those rules in conjunction with our legal and policy colleagues to make sure that we operate tightly within our statutory and legal obligations. I think that's a very important thing to call out in terms of our risk appetite as an organisation, while still being curious about this type of technology in the industry. And I think that takes me to the lessons learned, or the main shift changes in terms of the way that ROS are operating within our digital department and as a digital organisation. The key learning that we've had in the last number of years is coupling a purposeful evolutionary change from a structure and a culture perspective. And that maximises our ability to deliver technology-based investments. And in a nutshell, what this really means is that we've had an organisational mentality change where we're moving away from big project-based digital transformation programs to product-aligned delivery. And the change that has in practice is that as a senior manager within ROS, I am no longer operating my own cost centre silo. We have a senior management team that consists of the head of IT, the head of operations, the head of HR, the head of legal and policy, and we are, as a group, accountable for the creation and the delivery of the corporate plan objectives that meet our customer needs. Over and above that, our digital department has been completely restructured. No longer are we operating in project or discipline-based silos, but we're orientated into business and customer-aligned services. We have business people working in our technology teams. The product managers, who are typically the people driving change for the benefit of our customers, they're not technologists, they're typically people that have either come from our customer experience team or a registration space. And they're really bringing that insight into our technology teams to deliver good products. So the future of AI at ROS, where do I see coming further down the line, over and above the area of tackling our open casework problem? When you look at generative AI, I think one of the more mature capabilities that have been established within mainstream in that space is chatbots. I can foresee in the not too distant future a time where our legal professionals don't have to phone up an agent in our customer services department to say, how do I submit an advance notice? Or how do I submit a digital discharge? A simple AI chatbot should be able to tell you, or be able to support you with that. We will always be there at the end of the phone, if needs be, but we want to shift left and provide self-service wherever we can. Equally, we know that the vast majority of the questions that come into ROS is, what is the status of my application? A chatbot will do that for us going forward. And we can use this type of technology internally as well. I talked through the concept of we have junior caseworkers and we have experienced caseworkers. And typically, during the course of settling land and property applications, these junior caseworkers have questions, they have need, they have referrals to seek support from our complex caseworkers that could otherwise be spending time working on complex cases. Chatbots can play a part in supporting our junior caseworkers and guiding them on how to do the legal settle process without detracting time and capacity from the complex caseworkers. Talked earlier around the self-service copy deeds capability that we've released. We want to expand that beyond the Register of Books and Council and beyond the Register of Deeds to cover the full breadth of our LR archives, our land registration archives. And in the future, and I think technology and in our own digital maturity still has to progress for this to be achieved, I can see augmented artificial intelligence, augmented automation, moving away from not only working in that simple casework space, but also moving into the more complex areas of first registrations and transfer of parts. And ultimately what that will deliver for the benefit of our customers is a guaranteed service, irrespective of the property market volatility. And the one thing I just wanted to reflect on in the last slide here is that the work that Roz has been doing in delivering our digital services and using AI-based capabilities is primarily within this slope of enlightenment. This is the Gartner hype cycle, if some of you may be familiar with it. And Gartner, they always say that when technology is introduced to the industry, there's an innovation trigger, there's a need. But then quite quickly there's a peak of inflated expectations, which soon after goes through a period of trough of disillusionment where reality sets in. But then eventually it becomes mainstream, it becomes embedded. And the technology services that we've been using to deliver Scotland, to deliver tackle the open casework problem, and copy these services, it's in these native cloud AI services and data labeling and annotation services. And that's just, we're starting to realise the real benefits of our cloud strategy that has been successfully delivered, unlocking a lot of the potential of those mainstream cloud services that are out there. Generative AI, it's the talk of the town right now. Everybody's speaking about generative AI, ChatGPT, and it's a hugely, hugely powerful product. It uses large language models, it uses inputs at a global scale to learn. And it is at the peak of the expectation curve. But I think that it's still to go through that period, that trough of disillusionment. For an organisation like Roz, we have significant compliance, legal, statutory obligations to meet. And there's many organisations will be the same. And that will likely constrain the realisation of value in that specific space over a period in time until it becomes established, more mainstream. And through that period, Roz will remain cautious but curious. Thank you.